Hi, this is Roro, and welcome to Roro Rants. This isn't really a rant, although, well, I guess it is. I'm going to start ranting. It's not going to start out that way, but um, I want to talk about our revolution that Bernie talked about last night, and also about Bernie's revolution, because I really think they're kind of two different things. And what he started to talk about in the beginning was Bernie's revolution, the one that we were a part of, the one that we all fought for. And I just wanted to say one thing that I got from Bernie's talk last night. We won. We won. We created the revolution. If you really supported Bernie and supported his policies and you want his revolution to continue, we can still do this. Bernie's speech last night was inspiring, and in the beginning he talked about all the victories we accomplished. We may have lost the primary election and he may not be our president, but his candidacy and his campaign has changed the entire conversation of politics in this whole country forever. So he started a revolution, and that is a victory in and of itself. He changed the conversation. He changed the country. From free tuition at public universities, nobody talked about that before Bernie, and ending student debt, and $15 minimum wage, raising taxes on the wealthy, free trade agreements, and a lot of us didn't know what those were. None of us read those things. I never used to go up and read what was in them. I knew that we lost jobs because of NAFTA, but I never really knew about all the other problems. Single-payer health care, expanding Social Security. I didn't realize how close we were to losing Social Security. And, he talked about ending private prisons and fixing our criminal justice system, $80 billion that we spend on locking people up. We could do a lot with that money. Jobs and education, not jails and incarceration. Bernie has accomplished what he set out to do. He accomplished his goal of creating a revolution in this country. He has changed the political dialogue, and now all these candidates, all these Democratic candidates for House and Senate are campaigning on these same issues that he campaigned on. That's no small thing. That's a big deal. He may not be president, but he changed the country more than any president ever has in history by inspiring millions of us to stand up and tell the corporate elite, the millionaires and the billionaires, enough is enough. We know he won. We know we won. We know that we have the numbers. We would have won if the Democratic primary would have allowed independents to vote in all states, and if there wasn't so much election fraud, he would have won the primary. And we know that. So we know we have the numbers. We know we have the numbers to beat Clinton and Trump. So what we need to do is we need to continue to stand up and fight for his progressive policies and continue this revolution with the help of him in the Senate, because that's what he wants to do. He wants to work in the Senate to pass through this legislation. That's going to be his job. He doesn't want to be president, so don't write his name in. That's stupid. He doesn't want to do it. If he wanted to be a write-in candidate, he would have applied as a write-in candidate. He feels that he can do more good in the Senate. He started the revolution, he won the revolution, and now he wants to go back to being a senator and doing what he does best. All the president does is either veto or sign the bills. That's all they do. He doesn't need to be president. He can do more damage in the Senate and the House. Trust me on this. This is what he's thinking. So what we need to do is we need to help him put a progressive Congress and Senate in who will vote for his legislation And we need to put in a progressive president who will not veto the legislation once it gets passed through the Senate, the House, and then through the Senate. And you know, Bernie always told us, no president can do this alone. Look what happened with Obama. Obama wanted to change the country, but he wasn't able to do it alone because the Congress and the Senate fought him all the way. The first 2 years of Obama's presidency, he had a Democratic House and Senate, and he was able to put through some legislation, such as Obamacare. The mistake that Obama made was he was trying to appease the minority of the House and Senate that was still Republican, who strongly and viciously opposed anything progressive that he wanted to do. He shouldn't have done that. He just should have said, fuck you, I'm the majority, we have the majority, and passed the legislation through. But he didn't do that. He was still trying to bargain with them and appease them. So that was the mistake he made. And what happened in 2014, sorry, that was a mistake. That was supposed to be the midterms in 2010. Nobody came out to vote again, and then the Republicans got elected in the House and Senate, and then it was a disaster. For the next 6 years, the Senate and the House blocked any progressive legislation from going through for the remainder of the presidency. Not all of it. I mean, they did get some things done, you know, allowing gays in the military. There were a few things, but a lot of things that he wanted to do, he was not able to do because of all the stagnation and, you know, them blocking. I mean, they wouldn't even let him nominate a Supreme Court justice. It's ridiculous. It's really ridiculous. So remember, Bernie said this, no president can do this alone. Change never happens from the top down. It always happens from the bottom up. We all need to be involved. We all need to do this. This is our revolution. It's not his revolution. It's our revolution. We all need to do this work. So what do we need to do to bring Bernie's revolution to fruition? I'm going to still call it Bernie's revolution because I don't want to call it our revolution because I don't totally trust that yet. I trust most of the Senate and the House people that are running, but some people have said some things. I don't know. I didn't trust it when I got the emails. I was kind of on the fence, and then I listened to him last night. He's really inspiring, but then he said he's not leading it, and Jeff Weaver is, and some people are upset about that. I don't really know. I mean, you definitely need to figure out in your state who is the most progressive candidate and vote for them. That's what you need to do. But don't let the Republicans win. Don't ever let the Republicans win. But anyway, the most important thing you do is elect leaders in the House and Senate who are going to vote to pass legislation to push through our progressive agenda that we all want, that Bernie wants. The next important thing that we need is a president who will not veto this legislation. If you look at the policies of the right-wing parties, the Gary Johnson of the Libertarian Party or Donald Trump of the Republican Party, those two candidates would veto any, if not most, the most important legislation that Bernie would try to pass. They're not progressive. The Libertarians may want to legalize weed and maybe they believe in gay rights and abortion, but other than that, they are the party of the billionaires. They are totally corporate. They don't believe in minimum wage. They want to do away with Social Security. They're totally, they don't even, they want to turn us all into corporate slaves. So do not vote. Libertarians would oppose anything progressive that Bernie wants to do. They're not going to stand up to the millionaires and billionaires. They are the Libertarian might be good for a government, for a state government, because the federal government is funding everything that they need, you know, that they can't do. But it's not going to work. It'll be a disaster for a federal government. And Donald Trump, he talks a big game, but it would all be controlled by the Republican Party. He would not be able to fight it all. It would still be Republicans. So those two presidents, forget it. The best president for progressives would be Jill Stein. She is the most progressive presidential candidate. She is even more progressive than Bernie was. If you look at her policies, you need to go look up the candidates and read the platforms. I will provide all the links down below in the comments. I'll provide the links to all the platforms. You need to be informed. You need to read them. Don't just say, oh, I want to legalize weed, I think I'll vote for... But no, you can't do that. If you're going to do that, you might as well not fucking vote, because you're only going to hurt things. Just take a few minutes and read the fucking thing. Jesus. Anyway, now, Jill Stein would definitely be the best one to push through Bernie's progressive agenda. If all of the Bernie supporters got together and would now support Jill Stein, she would definitely have the numbers to beat Donald Trump and Hillary. But Bernie believes that this is not possible at the present, because the Bernie supporters are all splintering up. We're fighting amongst ourselves. Some of them are voting for Trump, some of them are voting for Johnson. We're not organized. We have not stayed united. And there's a bunch of Hillary trolls going all around the internet trying to keep us divided. Bernie is a progressive. Jill is a progressive. Hillary is pretending to be a progressive. At least she's pretending to be one. So what Bernie figures is, well, if, you know, at least Hillary has a better chance of winning. Now, that's not what I believe. I'm voting for Jill Stein. But the reason he's probably, I think that he probably was threatened. I mean, he was definitely threatened with loss of his seats in the Democratic committees. And he loves that. He's on a bunch of Democratic committees, and they threaten to take away his seats. And he's leading a lot of them. So, you know, they would threaten him with that. I think they may have threatened him with worse than that. So maybe to hurt his family, I don't know. But a lot of people are dying. So, you know, and I'm not going to put the links to that. If you haven't heard about that, you could look it up. But a lot of people that tried to go against Hillary are dying. So that might be why another reason he hasn't jumped on the Jill Stein wagon. But maybe he knows. Maybe he knows that not all Bernie supporters were really behind him. Maybe he figures, oh, they were just there because they thought I was cool. Maybe they don't support my policies. Maybe they're not really progressive. And Hillary Clinton has a better chance of winning. And you know, Gary Johnson might be a spoiler, but he's not going to beat Trump. I mean, Trump definitely has more votes than Gary Johnson. So he may feel that he just doesn't want to risk this, and maybe that's why he figures that Bernie still feels probably that we can transform the Democratic Party from the inside. And Clinton would be the second choice after Jill, because at least she's campaigning on a progressive platform. If we get a progressive House and a progressive Senate and put through progressive legislation, Hillary would be in a very bad situation in deciding whether or not to veto it. Bernie would let us all know what's going on and that it's in her hands now, and we could all protest in D.C. by the millions, and if she does veto it, the people would be outraged, and if she did veto it, they would finally realize her true colors, and she would end up being a one-term president. They would all realize that she's not a progressive, she was lying all along, and so maybe this is his plan, is to endorse her, get a progressive House, get a progressive Senate, implementing the progressive platform and holding her feet to the fire. This is where we disagree with Bernie. We will not splinter. We will not disband and give up on our revolution. We will fight for an even more progressive platform than the Democratic one. We believe that you can't build a revolution in a counter-revolutionary party. So we're going to support Jill Stein, and she will easily push through all of Bernie's platform plus more. She'll create millions of jobs, rebuilding our infrastructure, but also green jobs and renewable energy and expansion of green renewable public transportation, and put us on a path to 100% green renewable energy by 2030, ending fossil fuels, fracking, and wars for oil. And this is important because Climate change is the biggest threat to national security. According to the NSA, the DoD, and the Pentagon, if we don't act now, we can expect devastating effects by 2050. I mean, we're already seeing floods and record high temperatures and all this. It's going to get worse. 2050, that's our lifetime. This is no joke. We need to act now. And I'll put all the links to all of that too. But anyway, and if you think Jill is inexperienced, that's ridiculous. She worked as a doctor for 25 years. She saw firsthand the effects that the environment has on our health. So she quit her lucrative career as a doctor, and since 1998, she's been working as an activist, fighting for environmental justice in her state, which she was in Massachusetts, and she has a long list of accomplishments. I'll put that in the comments as well. She did a lot. She's got a lot done, and she was on a lot of committees and campaigns, and she has a long list of accomplishments. She also would adopt a totally different foreign affairs policy based on human rights instead of war. And her VP pick has 40 years of experience working around the globe fighting for human rights. And he has a lot of experience at that, and that's why she picked him. He compliments her so well. He may not always have tact, and, you know, I don't mind that about people because that's what I'm like. I can handle it. I got a thick skin. You know, everybody got to start having a little bit of a thicker skin. Why is everybody always so offended? You know, I'm passionate. I'm going to rant sometimes. Get used to it. You need it. You got to wake up, people. You know? If we don't, we're going to be underwater by 2050. My dog's growling. Come here, Nina. I'm sorry. I wasn't yelling at you. Come here. I got a pit bull named Neen. I don't know if I can show her. My camera's going to shut off if I show you, but I'll put a picture of her in the comments too. Anyway, what was I saying? So, yeah, they both have a lot of experience. Also, go read the Green Party platform. It's great. I mean, I'll read a quote here about jobs. There's plenty of work to do that does not jeopardize our future, does not widen the gap between the richest and the poorest in our society, and that can enrich our communities. We must encourage the creation of these opportunities. People whose livelihoods depend on supporting remote multinational corporations cannot be expected to support changing the system. And the jobs and tax policies, okay, so that was the quote. And the part about the jobs and the tax policies, she just goes on to, well, it's not her, it's their platform, the Green Party. And it talks about favoring tax breaks for small businesses and businesses that use green energy, and give small businesses tax breaks on labor and fees and bureaucratic burdens, and giving them a fair chance to compete in this rigged economy, because small businesses are the biggest job creators. And, you know, end all this corporate welfare, you know, get rid of all these like big agriculture and, you know, like the chicken farms that are, you know, exploiting these poor chicken farmers to take the chickens and, you know, bring them to these big factories. You heard that story, I'm sure. You know, everybody, make it more fair. This will create millions of new jobs, because small businesses is where the new jobs are coming from. And this will also make us more competitive in the global market long term, because we need more jobs. As for the short term, here's another quote about, because, you know, she also realizes, you know, not everybody is going to be able to get a job right away. So she says, the Green Party proposes a third alternative to the job or no job dichotomy. That is to provide everyone a sustainable livelihood. The need of our times is for security, not necessarily jobs. We need security in the knowledge that while markets may fluctuate and jobs may come and go, we are still able to lead a life rooted in dignity and well-being. The concept of a job is only a few hundred years old, and the artificial dichotomy between employment and unemployment has become a tool of social leverage for corporate exploiters. This produces a dysfunctional society in various ways. It is used to justify bringing harmful industries to rural communities, such as extensive prison construction and clear cutting of pristine forests. It has been used to pit workers, people needing jobs, against the interests of their own communities. And it has created a self-esteem crisis in a large segment of the adult population who have been forced into doing work that is irrelevant, socially harmful, or environmentally unsound. We will also promote policies that have job-increasing effects. Many people will still need jobs for their security. We need to counterbalance the decline in jobs caused by either new technology, corporate flight to cheaper labor markets outside our borders, or the disappearance of socially wasteful jobs that will inevitably occur as more and more people embrace a green culture. Okay, so now this is the part that's really exciting. The Green Party supports off-the-grid communities without enforcing any government involvement. This is really big for those of you who value freedom. This is great. It says here, to begin a transition to a system providing sustainable livelihood, we support low-consumption communities and living arrangements, including a reinvigorated sustainable homesteading movement in rural areas and voluntary shared housing in urban areas. So this would be great for communities like in the Midwest, where these big corporations like Walmart and big agriculture have devastated whole towns, and where all the factories left and towns are just left with nothing. It goes on to talk about how these communities could be more independent by creating and spreading their own local currencies and barter systems. Can you imagine that? The government letting you create your own currency, have your own little community and your own currency? That's awesome. Subsidizing technological development of consumer items that would contribute toward economic autonomy, such as renewable energy devices. That's a great idea. Establishing local nonprofit development corporations. So that would be like these indoor farms, put money into letting a bunch of people co-op like an empty factory. Just take it. If the owner isn't doing anything with it, eminent domain, we're taking this back and giving it to the community of the people that live around there. And we're going to make a big indoor farm with those, the ceilings like a greenhouse, and the vertical farms with the water where the fish swim in the water, and you can get fish and you can get crops, and I don't know exactly how it works, but you can look it up. So these are things that so many people want to do. The indoor farm thing with the factories would be in the cities, and the homestead things would be in more rural areas. And so many people want to just create their own little off-the-grid community, free of government interference, where they could just live in peace. And the Green Party encourages this, as long as they follow laws of the U.S. We don't want anybody violating the rights of women and children, of course. In urban areas, they encourage voluntary shared housing. They're not going to force anybody into this, but it would definitely be more cost-effective than our current system of aid to needy families. Of course, it's our duty to take care of children, the elderly, single parents, the disabled, mentally ill. If any people in these groups don't live with other family members who have an income to help support them, or even like whole families with small children who prefer to stay home with their children when they're young to help to raise them, we encourage that, But in group housing, it might help solve so many problems because, for most people, unemployment or welfare is a temporary situation, like less than a year until they finish school or find a new job. In these cases, they may wish to remain in their own homes or in their own neighborhoods, especially if they have roommates or neighbors, family, friends. But some situations, it may turn into a long-term situation. People might find themselves alone in the world without any family and very few friends. And our society's become so fragmented. People used to live in extended families with a lot of relatives in the neighborhood or in multi-family houses. Like I know my parents, when they were little, one aunt lived upstairs, one aunt lived downstairs. Everybody was in a 3-family house, and then the next down the street would be another 3-family house with the rest of the family or something. Everybody lived so close together. If you needed a babysitter, they were right there. We could do the same thing with people that need aid, provide that kind of community housing with, shared kitchen and living room, but like, separate bedrooms and sleeping areas for families or whatever. And this is just my idea. I don't think this is in the Green Party platform, but they just said shared housing. So I'm just thinking something like that would be a good idea. Anyway, so read the Green Party platform. We believe that the Green Party has the best platform to transform the nation into this progressive country that we desire, where the individual freedoms are respected, opportunities available, initiative and hard work is rewarded, and the planet will be protected from any further harm. The Green Party has the best chance to continue Bernie's revolution and reform the United States into a world leader where social, economic, racial, and environmental justice prevail. Anyway, I hope this wasn't too long. Thanks. This is Roro. This was Roro Rants. If my camera doesn't shut off, I can show you a picture of my dog. Hey, Neen. Say hello. Neen, where's Daddy? Huh? Where's Daddy, Neen? Say hello. This is Nina. There she is. She's cute. Okay, goodbye.